I'm joined at this time by senior Congress leader, member of parliament from Chandigarh, former Union Minister Manish Tiwari joins us on this broadcast. Manishji, welcome. The government's big idea was to, change the tax slabs, leave more money in the wallets of middle-class taxpayers. They're cheering this budget, quite delighted that, the middle class has got something finally to cheer about. And that seems to be the government's drive, really, to try and boost consumption by leaving more money for people to go out and spend in different ways that you want. As the leading voice of the Indian opposition, how are you reading Finance Minister Sitharaman's 8th budget?
Well, Rahul, if you were to look at the big numbers of the budget, the needle does not seem to have moved because the fiscal deficit still remains in the region of about 15.5 lakh crores. In fact, it was 15,69,527 lakh crores in the revised budget estimates for 24-25. And for the next year, it's 15,68,936 crores. So the needle really has not moved on the fiscal deficit at all. In terms of the government going to the market in order to fulfill this budgetary deficit, again, does not doesn't seem to have moved because about 11 lakh crores was mobilized last year. In fact, 11 lakh 62,678 crores. And for 25-26, the figure is at 11 lakh 53,834 crores. So essentially, when the government is going to the market to borrow such large sums of money, it squeezes the private sector out when it comes to accessing institutional finance in order to spur their own investment plans. Coupled with that, the total debt of the government has gone up exponentially to 190 lakh crores. It's up from 55 lakh crores odd in 2014-15 to 190 lakh crores, which is almost 140 lakh crores addition to the total debt and liabilities of the government. Now, government may argue that in terms of the debt to GDP ratio, we are still within the guardrails. But in absolute numbers, this is a worrying number. So therefore, if you were to step back a little and really look at the macro picture, including the fact that the lowering of corporate income tax rates in 2019-2020, which was supposed to spur private investment, even that has not happened because the largest number in terms of where the rupee comes from is still from borrowings, and personal income tax collections, trump the corporate income tax collections, corporation tax. So essentially, if you look at the big picture still remains worrying. And more importantly, the caution administered by the chief economic advisor does not seem to have been reflected in the budget, wherein he said that government needs to get out of the way, that in this country, the process is the punishment. You are guilty unless you prove yourself innocent.
No, but why are you saying that? Because the finance minister said, Manishji, that they'll come up with a new tax code which is 50% less cumbersome than the last tax code, the existing tax code. They're also talking about setting up committees to drastically reduce regulation. So at least the government is attempting to walk down that path. It may be slow and cumbersome, but there seems to be an effort being made in that direction to try and make it easier to do business in India.
Well, 10 years is a long time, Rahul, to essentially go down that path. And to go back to the point which Mr. Shankar Iyer was making before I came onto the show, that income tax is probably the only department which repeatedly appeals against the orders of its own assessing officers. And the appeal does not end with the first appellate authority, that is the Commissioner Appeals, but goes all the way up to the ITAT, to the High Court, to the Supreme Court. In fact, as someone who was litigating at one point in time on behalf of the government, I can say that the maximum backlog which is there in the courts with regard to income tax or direct tax matters is because of government litigation. And that does not seem to have changed in the past 10 years.
Manish Tiwari ji, for joining us with your thoughts. Thank you very much. Senior Congress leader, Member of Parliament from Chandigarh, Manish Tiwari sharing his critique of the union budget.